Hello and welcome to World at Noon on Osrc TV. I am Obi Chukwemeka Oti. The Ondo State government says it would ensure that the necessary actions are taken to mitigate the effects of flood in the state. The state deputy governor, Dr. Olayide Adelami, spoke while meeting with National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in Akure. Government House correspondent Zehimo Ebieme was at the event and the report is presented from our studio.
Officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, were in Ondo State to intimate government to the latest predictions about flooding in some government areas of the state. Deputy Governor Dr. Olayide Adelami thanked the National Emergency Management Agency for being proactive and assured the team of government's preparedness to curb flood disaster. He said the state government has done a lot by providing necessary equipment to clear the waterways.
Without appreciating our amiable, peace-loving, people-oriented, and developmental-focused governor of Ondo State, His Excellency Lucky Orimison Aiyedatiwa, for his readiness to approve funds to meet emergencies and for being responsive to the yearnings of our people in the state.
The Director General, NEMA, Zubaida Umar, represented by the Director of Special Duties, Hajia Fatima Kazim, said the early warning strategy is to spur early action to save lives and property during the rainy season.
I wish to commend Your Excellency for all the measures put in place in the state by the state government to reduce the risk of disavoidable losses in the state. For the 2024 rainy season, some local governments of Ondo State are still predicted to be affected by flooding. These local governments, which are under the high and moderate flood risk areas, include Ilaje, Odido, Iseogu, and Ebele.
She thanked the state government for the flood mitigation strategies put in place thus far.
The June edition of Environmental Sanitation Exercise will hold across Ondo State tomorrow, 29 June 2024. And with the directive of the Commissioner for Environment, Mr. Oyeni Oseni, the exercise is to be carried out without restrictions of human and vehicular movement due to the common entrance examination into the government secondary schools and the Olympic Day run that have been fixed for the day. A statement by the Acting General Manager, Ondo State Waste Management Authority Adekunle Olajibu, urges residents to take the advantage of the period to clean their surroundings. He assured of the present administration's commitment towards making Ondo State one of the best in cleanliness across the country. The acting national chairman of People's Democratic Party, Ambassador Umar Damagum, has inaugurated national campaign councils for Edo and Ondo State governorship election scheduled to hold later this year. Ambassador Damagum thanked members of the party in the two states for raising the bar in internal democracy, which produced the party's candidates. He expressed happiness at the level of development in Ondo State, which he described as encouraging. The chairman said the people have resolved to reoccupy their rightful place in the scheme of things, and the inauguration was attended by council members, including serving governors, senators, and House of Representatives members. According to the Ondo State Publicity Secretary of the party, Kennedy Perete, with inauguration, the Ondo campaign train will hit the ground running immediately. UNESCO data indicates that the global number of out-of-school children has risen by 6 million since 2021 and now totals 250 million. This figure, when compared to the statement of former President of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, that education is the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world, experts say signals the need to do more by fostering the right partnership for schools development. Osrc Saida Ribisala reports that stakeholders in the education sector want factors such as insecurity, lack of conducive environment, low morale of teachers, among others, to be addressed to improve the sector. The report.
According to UNICEF, Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, with approximately 10.5 million children aged 5 to 14 not receiving formal education. This occurrence can be found in both rural and urban areas, with concerned Nigerians adducing various reasons such as economic barriers, conflicts, socio-cultural norms, lack of inclusive practices, among others, for its prevalence. Universal Basic Education Commission (UBEC) also estimated that 50% of public schools in the country lack basic furniture, forcing pupils to sit on the floor to take lessons. Improving this situation and a holistic repositioning of the education sector formed the crux of conversation among principals of various schools in Ondo State.
It takes a big heart to be a principal. It takes a big heart to be a teacher. If you are not bold, you cannot be a teacher. If you are not bold, you cannot handle issues. So it is boldness and the grace of God that is helping us. You are meeting a set of people. You have the teachers, you have the non-teaching, you have the students, all from different backgrounds. So with all that, you have to, get into each of them and know how to handle each of the situations. You understand? Cultural-wise, we are different. In terms of upbringing, we are different. So we have to, synergize all this together to move the school forward.
The community development dialogue for the principals also featured development partners who emphasized the need for learning to go beyond classroom.
Achieve an awesome education. I'm talking about awesome, like HOLESOME. It requires all hands to be on deck to achieve this. So help school to actualize their goals, to actualize their plans. As a school, there's a whole lot to be achieved. There's a whole lot to be done, especially in an environment where you run free education. We know education itself is not free. So it's actually been subsidized, so to speak. So talking about all these corporate partners, all these partners, individuals that you can identify in our community, bringing them all together and say, we have 322 public secondary schools in Ondo State. How best can we encourage them? How best can we help them?
As you are aware, a lot of things, theoretical things are taught in the classroom. But anything learned the practical way stays with you, right? That's by experience, and that is a fact. And so that is why we are encouraging that there's a lot of synergy and collaboration between, the theory being taught in class and, the industry application, especially where those industries exist. So we encourage that pupils, should be able to have experiences there, like internship and, even talking to people, because then sometimes you need role models, right? And then you can be able to see people who have been there, who have done that, and you can be able to ask questions, yes.
The integral role of Old Students Association and improved collaboration with security agencies, experts say, will enhance school enrollment and learning environment.
School versus school, and you think it's funny. It's not funny. Eh? Because what are they fighting over? This is something we're supposed to invite the two schools, sit down, eventually get to the individuals involved. What is the bone of contention here?
For everyone, the child today you see that is out of school can constitute a threat to the security and the livelihood of everybody within that space. So,
with Agenda 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals being quality education, the consensus opinion is that every child must have access without hindrances. Sahira Aribisala, OSRC News.
Meanwhile, the presidency says state governments were in a better position to champion the cause of a school feeding program. The senior assistant to President Bola Tinubu on the school feeding program, Dr. Yetunde Adeniji, made this known in Abuja. Adeniji, who called on state governments to key into the program, said it was part of ongoing efforts to reposition the education sector of the country. She stated this at the start of a two-day training workshop for the domestication of the African Union Development Agency and the new Partnership for African Development Continental School Feeding Guidelines for Nigerian state officials. Adeniji explained that the focal persons are not only the backbone of the initiative in each state, but also the liaisons between the state government, schools, and communities in ensuring an effective program implementation, fostering collaboration, and addressing challenges that may arise. Staying with the presidency, President Bola Tinubu has approved the immediate rollout of the National Construction and Household Support Program to cover all geopolitical zones in the country. A statement by the presidential spokesman, Ajuri Ngalale, said the initiative is to boost agricultural productivity, strengthen the economy by creating opportunities in the real sectors of agriculture, manufacturing and construction, as well as provide urgent economic relief for Nigerians. Under the program, the Sokoto to Badagry Highway, which will traverse Sokoto, Kebbi, Niger, Kwara, Oyo, Ogun and Lagos states, is prioritized. According to the statement, other items under the National Construction and Household Support Program include one-off allocation to states and the Federal Capital Territory of 10 billion naira for the procurement of CNG buses uplift program, delivery of 50,000 naira uplift grants each to 100,000 families per state for 3 months, provision for labor unions and civil society organizations. President Tinubu urged state governors to work together to meet the needs of citizens, stating that he is willing to provide the needed support to ensure that Nigerians are relieved of the current hardship. In the meantime, the federal government has proposed the review of the Labour Standard Bill to mainstream child labour, with special consideration on the adoption of 15 years as the minimum age for work or employment. Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkiruka Nyojacha, at the third edition of the National Children Conference to mark the elimination of child labour in Nigeria held in Abuja, lamented the menace of child labour in the country. According to the minister, about 25 million adults and children are forced into labour, including in global supply chains. She explained that the critical stakeholders were all aware that the current global statistics shows that 160 million children and nearly 1 in 10 worldwide are engaged in child labour. Onyejacha said to address the challenges of child labour, Nigeria had made giant strides in the ratification of the International Labour Organization Convention 138 on the minimum age for work and 182 on the worst forms of child labour, among others. Staying with the government at the centre, the federal government has approved the disbursement of over 12 billion naira through the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, BHCPF. The amount represents the 2023 fund for 1 quarter to be utilized in the 3rd quarter of 2024. The Coordinating Minister of the Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, at the 7th meeting of the BHCPF Ministerial Oversight Committee in Abuja, said that these reforms aim to better align resources and improve health outcomes such as increased antenatal coverage, skilled birth attendance, immunization rates, and overall health insurance coverage in Nigeria. In March 2024, the Nigerian government authorized the disbursement of 25 billion naira through the BHCPF across the states of the Federation. The allocated funds were earmarked for direct facility financing and workforce incentives across states. Pate said that in line with Nigeria's health sector renewal initiative and President Bola Tinubu's approval for a sector-wide approach, urgent comprehensive reforms were being undertaken to improve BHCPF. Away from the presidency, the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, has urged that the 2 officers of the commission allegedly involved in the manhandling of a female staff of Regional Hotel Ojo, Lagos, be arrested. The officers were cited in a viral video assaulting the staff of the hotel in an early morning operation which resulted in the arrest of suspects who are still under investigation. This was made known in a statement by the agency's head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale. The EFCC's boss has also ordered detailed investigation of the operation carried out at the hotel and assured that appropriate disciplinary measures will be taken against any of the officers found culpable. Olukoyede assured the Nigerian public that the EFCC will continue to ply its job professionally and with profound respect for the rule of law. Let's now turn our attention to Kenya, where police in its capital, Nairobi, have fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse demonstrators who rallied in another day of protest sparked by a controversial bill that would have raised taxes on essential goods. Kemisola Ojomo has details.
What is happening on the street of Kenyatta and Tugma in the heart of downtown is a snapshot of what is happening in cities across Kenya. The day after President William Ruto said he would kill the tax bill, planned demonstrations still went ahead, smaller in scale, but clashes with police as violent as ever.
These people are killing us every day. Like I'm telling you, we do not have employment. Article 43 of the Constitution gives us guarantees to right to healthcare, right to education, right to what, right to whatever, everything. Social, yeah.
When asked what's more they want from the government, they do not mince their words.
My friend, we do not subscribe. The thing is, we want you out. Umetutukana, umetuita criminals for practicing our democratic rights. So we want you out.
President Ruto seems to have miscalculated the reactions he would get from Kenya's younger generation, the kind of authoritarianism yielded by previous leaders. The deployment of Kenya's armed forces alongside police who continue to use heavy-handed tactics, tear gas, water, cannons, live ammunition, and often just a lethal rubber bullets aimed at people's head, all are growing distraught and anger.
We are fighting for this generation, and the government must hear our voice by force. We are the people that put you there, and our taxes are the people that makes you to become who you become.
Despite what the government is throwing at them, they continue to meet raised guns with raised voices. As far as they are concerned, they say they've backed their president into a corner, and now it is time for them to set the government's agenda from the street. Kemisola Ojomo, Osrc News.
Polls in Iran open today for a presidential election following the death of ultra-conservative President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash last month. 61 million Iranians are eligible to vote in the polls, where reformist Masoud Pezeshkian, 69, hopes for a breakthrough win against a divided conservative camp. The Guardian Council, which vets candidates, allowed him to run against a field of conservatives now dominated by Parliamentary Speaker Mahmoud Bagha Badif and former nuclear negotiator Saeed Jalili. The election in sanctions-hit Iran comes at a time of high regional tensions between the Islamic Republic and its arch foes Israel and the United States as the Gaza war rages on. Polling stations will be open for 10 hours, though authorities could extend voting time as in previous elections. Early projections of the results are expected by Saturday morning and official results by Sunday. If no candidate wins 50% of the vote, a second round will be held on July 5 for only the second time in Iranian electoral history after the 2005 votes went to a runoff. Bolivian President Luis Arce thwarted an apparent attempted coup on Wednesday as Army General Juan Jose Zuniga was arrested hours after he led troops and tanks to storm the presidential palace in the capital La Paz. Sheung Adetola has details.
This is what the streets of Ilato, one of the largest cities in Bolivia, look like on Thursday morning. People blocking roads concerned about their country's democracy.
We are here to say never again to a coup, to the military trying to control our democracy.
It comes after the dramatic scenes in the capital Labas on Wednesday when military units took over a main plaza in front of the presidential palace. They were led by General Juan Jose Zuniga, who had been removed from his post a day before. The government says it has made a series of arrests in connection with what it's calling an attempted coup. General Juan Jose Zuniga and at least 10 others involved in the coup are currently detained in prison. But the general detained suggested Wednesday's events were a political stunt intended to boost the government's popularity. Minister Miriam Labrelia was with President Luis Salusi on Wednesday inside the palace. She denies the accusation.
You cannot install this idea of a government-led coup for political purposes because you're ignoring an attempted coup d'etat that failed. Instead of treasuring our democracy, someone is trying to play dirty politics.
The attempted coup comes at a time when people in Bolivia are facing all sorts of economic difficulties. Bolivia has gone from being one of the fastest growing economies in Latin America to one struggling with a shortage of foreign reserves, and it continues to struggle to recover from the COVID pandemic.
The government needs to do something as the prices go up when there is chaos. They cannot solve the problems we're facing every day. There are no US dollars to trade. We don't know where we're going.
President Luis Salusi is under increasing pressure to improve the situation from the opposition, but also from former president who wants to run for office once again. An investigation is ongoing over what happened on Wednesday, but it's not the first time in Bolivia that the military has intervened amid growing discontent to try to take control of a situation that politics has failed to resolve. Seun Adetola, Osrc News.
China and Peru are strengthening their trade relations, with China investing significantly in a mega port in Peru. This development is set to enhance Lima's status as a regional trade hub and could challenge U.S. influence in the resource-rich region. The port is expected to facilitate increased trade flow between China and Latin America. Kemisola Ojomo again has details.
This tiny fishing and farming region in Shanghai now turning into a trade hub between Asia and South America. Construction of a mega port here to be finished by the end of the year will allow giant ships with cargoes of more than 20,000 containers to dock, and the traveling time to and from China reduced from 4 to 5 to 10 days. It is a $3.5 billion investment project. The expert says will transport 1 million containers the first year and boost global trade.
This port represents a way to bring goods back and forth with Asia, particularly China, but not only China, for a number of countries in our region, in a context of global insecurity, and having one more port that is a trading and shipping port. Primarily, it is not a government port, it's not a military port, it's a private trade and shipping port, is very important for those who trade with Asia.
Chinese private company Costco Shipping and Peru Vulcan share the project that is expected to also favor neighboring countries like Ecuador and Chile.
As China has been expanding in terms of investing in infrastructure around the world, and as Latin American leaders have encouraged China to come more to Latin America, a number of big public works projects and private projects have become sort of part of this vision. And the idea is connecting China to the rest of the world, not just in investment and trade, but also in physical presence and infrastructure.
The companies say the mega project will generate more infrastructure development, starting with an 800-acre industrial park.
In the face of such a large project, which will require an amount of services much larger than we can offer, it makes us think, what are we going to do? Our problem is we don't know what to do.
Shanghai, a city of 70,000 people is beginning to transform. Artisans, fishermen are looking for work in the port. Farmers are selling their land. Officials say the project is expected to create 30,000 jobs in the next 10 years. Although many of Peru's exports go to the United States and the European Union, producing main trading partner is China, and experts say the port will strengthen ties between both countries. Kemisolojom, Osrc News.
Elsewhere in India, the roof of a newly refurbished terminal building at New Delhi's International Airport has partially collapsed in heavy rains, killing one person and injuring 8 others. Images posted online showed vehicles crushed under giant steel girders as the departure forecourt of the airport's terminal, one of several projects inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in March ahead of the country's general election. The terminal is used for domestic flights only, and airport authorities say all flights departing from it had been cancelled until early afternoon. New Delhi has been hit by heavy rains in recent days as the annual monsoon reached the Indian capital. Reports say 8 people were also injured as rescue operations have been completed. And that's World at Noon. Thank you for watching. Good afternoon.